Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. My name's Teresa and I'm the car boot crafter, and I'm coming on today to show you this cute little Christmas project as part of my countdown to Christmas. So this is it. It's a tea bag folding. If anyone back in the day used to do it, you might recognize the folds. So it's folded, 4 pieces of paper folded. Then we've got some background papers and an insert in the card. Let me show you what I really like about this card. So let me pop it back in its envelope, and bearing in mind that at Christmas we do tend to post an awful lot of Christmas cards, what I really liked about this when I'd finished making it is that it goes easily through there, and that's the narrowest of the postage, so it won't cost me a fortune to post this card anywhere in the UK, or as much as going abroad often costs, as well as I've got several to go to Australia. Anyway, let's pop that to one side and show you what you need if you want to make one of these cards. So it's also a bit of a stash buster because you'll need a sheet of 6x6 paper. You don't have to use it, and I'll give you the measurements for the tree shortly, but I like it because it means I can use up some of my 6x6 stash. This comes from the Christmas Moments, which I picked up at Poundland last year. I've done my sentiment. I've already matted and layered this because I've used this sentiment. If you haven't got this sentiment, use whatever you like to stamp, and of course then your layering measurements will be completely different to mine. That was and I did this in centimeters, and I haven't converted it to inches, but that was 7 centimeters, the gold was 7.5, and the red was 8.5 centimeters, and this was 2 across, 2.5 on the gold, and 3 on the red. Then let's pop that to one side. I'm using as my base cards one of the cards from these. Now this is creativity inspired. It's a Poundland pack. Now I picked these up and was quite disappointed about quite how flimsy they are, but if you mat and layering them up as I have in this one, they stand up fine. And because I've put an insert in as well, that helps it to stand up over time. So I have tested it, but I've bought more of these because I really like the card. So that's my base card, and the rest of what I will need is my matting and layering and my inserts. Now my inserts, and I've chosen to do in white, and I've already stamped my sentiment. My insert is 6.5 by 4 3/4, or 12 by 16.5 centimeters, and that's both my bottom mat and my insert. Then my next mat, which I'm doing in red, is 14.25 by 4.5, and that's 16 by 11.5 centimeters. And then my top one, my top mat, is 15.5 by 11 centimeters, or 4.25 by 6 2/8 in inches. This one, it's also got a lovely little embossed pattern on there, which is why I chose to use that one as my top layer. So let's pop them to one side, and I'll show you how to cut your 6x6 paper with as little wastage as possible. So the first piece we need to cut at 3 inches. Now what I like about this as well is if your paper isn't a true 6x6, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to turn this to 3, so I'm ending up with a 3 inch by 3 inch, or 7.5 by 7.5 square. And I'm going to pop that to one side. Oh, I did forget to mention the stars. I'm using peel offs for my stars. So that's a 3 by 3 or a 7.5 by 7.5. This piece, if it's true 6 by 6, is another 3 by 3 paper. So you can choose either to keep that for the next tree or do as I'm doing, which is cutting it down to 2.5 by 2.5, which is 6.3 by 6.3 centimetres. And if your paper isn't a true 6 by 6, then I would recommend you do that rather than save your 3 by 3 for your next one. Just because it saves you on wasting that paper. So that's our waste so far. Then we bring in this piece. So this is 2 by 2 that we're going to cut. So I'm cutting it at 2 inches. I'm going to twist it round and cut again. So I've got another square. So the square I'm going to pop to one side. This is waste. And then we'll bring in this one, and this is 1.5 by 1.5. So if your paper is a true 6 by 6, you end up with 2 1.5s by 1.5s. I only need the one, but this one I can put to one side and use with my next card, and I'm going to save lots of paper. I've got another piece which is 2.5, so I can cut that into another square like that, and I've got another square for my next card, which means I've only got that wastage by my I'm going to use that for rubbish for my next card. Okay, let's move those out of the way and bring in our 4 pieces of paper. All of them are squares. Now I'm going to show you how I fold on 2 of them, where I've already folded these 2 to cut down on time. So the first thing you're going to do is turn your paper over, and you're going to fold point to point. Carefully line those up, because that helps with the appearance of the bit of your tree. Open it up, turn it round, and do the next point to point. So we've got a cross in the middle. Open that up, flip it over, and then we're going to put this edge against this edge and fold it in half. So just bring it up, folding it in half like that. I'm using my bone folder. You don't have to. You can use whatever you've got to hand. I know some people use the backs of the scissors. These are a bit big. Backs of scissors, or some people, I've used a knife in the past, the handle end of a knife. So once you've got that going on, you've got your 2 diagonals, which are valley folds. You've got your 2 going across, which are mountain folds. And what happens is, if you push that down, it'll pop up, and these sides want to come in. Just 2, although we've got that other edge, but it doesn't matter, just 2 of them need to come in. So we're just going to encourage them to do that, and what happens is the whole thing folds in on itself, and you end up with a triangle. And that's exactly what we want. Again, I'm going to just give that a quick fold. Now, we did another fold across the middle there. So I'm going to use that fold as a guide. So I'm going to bring this edge in and line it up just this side of that crease mark there. So we end up with that shape there, and that is going to be part of the front of our Christmas tree. I'm going to bring the other one across in exactly the same way, holding on to the top. Now if you line this up really well, it'll look, you can use that then to line up your 4 pieces of paper when you create the tree. So there we go, that's our fold, and that's how we've created our tree, by folding all 4 pieces in exactly the same way. Let me show you one more time. So you're going to flip it over so that the pattern you don't want to see, or in this case the white side, let me just cut that, is on the top, so facing you. Then you're going to go point to point. Now I do pick them up and do it easier in my hand, but for demonstration purposes I'm doing it on the mat. Point to point, open it up, twist it round, point to point again, reinforcing those creases as we go. Open it up, flip it over, and then go edge to edge rather than point to point. We're just lining those up. The more accurate you are with your folds, the better this will look, as with all of these origami type, tea bag type fold projects are. And then open it up, push it up like that, and then push those two sides in. Choose one of them, it doesn't matter. Sometimes it's, you know, if your papers look better one way or another, but push them in like that, so we've got a triangle. Okay, reinforcing all those score lines again, and then using that other fold that we did, I'm going to line up this edge with that fold to give us that tree branch look. And again, reinforcing those folds. And these, you know, I do in front of the TV when I'm bored of an evening, you know, watching Corrie or EastEnders or something. Because I'm trying not to get my head in the shot. I've gone over the crease line, so I'm just adjusting that, and that doesn't make an awful lot of difference. You can't see those extra crease marks. So then we've got all four of them, so I'm just going to pop those to one side as we do our matting and layering. So let's put my envelope out the way and we can start assembling the card. So I'm going to start with my insert. Now I always put a piece of double-sided tape, let me grab that, down the inside edge and attach it that way. I just think I like the movement when you open the card of that, just moving as you open it. But you can do any sort of insert you want. Okay, so I'm going to pop that to one side. I'm going to do these three together. So let me grab my glue. Yes, I am using glue on mirror card because it gives me a little bit of wiggle room. I know a lot of people would much rather use double-sided tape rather than a wet glue, but I'm just doing this because I like the wiggle, having a bit of wiggle room. And I also just use my fingers to just make sure it goes in those corners. Okay, and I also know that because I'm putting there, these are quite, not extremely thick, but I know they're quite thick, so that they will keep my mirror card, which is a base layer, which will keep it fairly flat. Oops. See, I've just pulled it just a little bit, so let's wiggle it. There we go, line it up. So because the red card is flat and not particularly thin, I don't know what weight it is, but it will help to keep that mirror card flat. And then I'm going to do my top layer. Now I've chosen to do 3 mats. Entirely up to you whether you want to keep it at 1 or 2, or whether you want to go the full hog as I have and done it as 3. My feelings are that it's Christmas and I like things to be a little bit more special for Christmas and a little bit more, dare I say it, opulent, which is why I'm using the gold mirror. And pop that down. There we go. Now, and you see how that's going to hold that flat, those 2 layers on my mirror card. Use whatever you want, whatever adhesive you enjoy or prefer. And now I'm just going to layer that onto my card base using my glue again. As I said, these are Poundland card bases, and I've used them for quite a lot of projects. I do tend to use the card rather than as a card base, so I use the sort of the papers. I'll cut them up rather than the card base. But then I thought, do you know what, I really should use them as cards rather than throw so much of it away. So I thought, let's see how it stands up to all this layering. So I'm just going to turn it over and use my bone folder just to reinforce and push all that glue into the card. So I'm using Jelly Bean Crafts glue, which I really like using because it's a nice thick one and it grabs, and it's not that expensive either. So I've done my stamping, so I've used Merry and Bright. So I'm just going to bring my glue back in and fix that at the bottom of the card like that. Okay, and what I'm trying to do here is I've got this little gap and it's very uniform because I've gone half a centimetre, I think it was, with the matting and layering when I cut, and so I'm keeping that as uniform as I can. There we go. So I'm just eyeballing it from each edge like that, and again I'm going to use my bone folder just to push it down. What I do tend to do is make these in batches, so I wouldn't make one card at a time. I'd do as a batch. A little bit of wiggle room needed there to straighten that up, I would then flip that over and leave it to dry that way around, using gravity and the weight of the rest of the card to hold everything in place. But as a demonstration, I'm not able to do that. Now, entirely up to you. You can either start with the smallest one and start at the top, but I prefer to start at the bottom, so I'm going to start with the biggest one. I haven't glued or folded anything up inside yet, but I'm going to glue this down on here. And it's entirely up to you whether you do glue everything down, as I glue a little bit but not everything. Right, so using this as a guide, I'm now going to pop this on, and I found that using this just coming onto the top of the sentiment meant I had enough room for the rest of my tree. Let me just wiggle that across slightly and make sure that's level. Okay, I'm going to bring in the next size up. I usually stack them like that next to me when I do, just because as I'm batch making it can get very confusing, because I'll have them all folded all in front of me, and I'll bring the 4 sizes next to me, one each of the 4 sizes, pop them next to me, and then I can just grab the next one up. So I'm going to glue that, and because I'm using glue rather than something like double-sided tape or snail, what I do is pull that ever so slightly, just putting my finger on there, and it lifts that tip up, which means I can now slide that under there. So I'm just going to eyeball it, a little bit of glue on there. I might put something on there, bauble or something, and I'm going to press that down, and I'm using this fold to line it all up as well. What you're aiming for is to put the tip of your fold inside your fold of the next one. So I'm just putting it in like that. So if I bring it up, so that just goes inside the next one. So let's grab the glue and do it again. So again, I'm just holding that down. It lifts up that point ever so slightly, so I'm able to just wiggle that in without getting glue all over everything, usually. Not always, I won't swear it always happens. And then press that down, and then the last one exactly the same, a little bit of glue on the back there. Hold on to that and bring that down. So, and because I want this to grab, I'm going to hold it in place and use my bone folder and just go in under. So I'm using this just to go underneath it to push it down into the backing card, and again down that side. There we go. And now for the star, as I said, I'm using some peel-offs. So I'm choosing, so we've got a whole decreasing size of peel-off, so I'm using the biggest one, if I can grab it. And again, I'm going to like a conveyor belt when you bulk. Oh, that one's a bit stuck. Let's choose a different one. That one, hopefully. Sometimes they do get a little bit stuck, and I'm sorry if this is flashing in the camera. Hopefully it's not causing too much of a problem. So now I've got my star, and I'm just going to line it up there very carefully, lay it down, and because this is ever decreasing, I'm going to miss the next one and go to the one after that, so that I've got a little bit of interest there. Ooh, that one wanted to follow for some reason. Oh, and that's broke it. Okay, so that one's broke. I'll leave that there. Not a good advertisement for peel-offs, and I'll use the next one instead and pop that in the middle. So now we have a different sort of star in the middle there. And there you have it. Oh, a bit lopsided. And there you have it, your Christmas card. And that wasn't that quick and simple and easy. And you can leave these like that if you want. I do tend to bring in my other glue because it's got a really fine tip, and put a tiny bit behind those just to hold that a little bit flatter, as it does with this one. Just holds that down. I mean, they still open everything, but just holds it down there. So that's my Christmas cards. I hope you do like them. I hope you give them a go. Let me know, and let's see if we can resurrect peel-offs again. Okay guys, well I'll speak to you in the next video. Hope you're enjoying the Countdown to Christmas series, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.